Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. And good morning, Facebook. How are you today, Dominic?
Good. How are you?
I am doing better. Today is going to be a great day. We have a fascinating show for you guys today. Today's show was picked by Dominic.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Today's
picked it.
topic. Can you tell what are we going to be talking about later today?
The science of quilting.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to introduce a couple of fun, quick, quirky little science-based topics that are related to quilting and to sewing. And I think we're all going to learn little things today. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Except for me, I learned them the other day.
Yeah. All right. I see people checking in from all over. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Victoria looks like she's a cotton girl. I know. Okay. That is going to be helpful today as we talk about cotton and different substrates and how they're sewn together. Good morning from Florida, from Rhode Island. So it's summer in St. Louis. And when I say summer, we are like real summer here. It is like we got in the car, it said 102 degrees and it was humid and it poured rain the day before. And so, yes, we are in knee-deep summer here. And so I hope everyone is getting some measure of
The weather
relief.
is just weird.
The weather is weird. It's doing its thing, though. Okay. All right, we're going to start as we always do with questions that have been submitted by you guys. Go to cottoncuts.com/live to submit your question for the next show. They're sitting here. Paula, she does her thing, and they're just sitting here. So we might learn something new today all together. Are you ready to be surprised with me? All right, let's do this.
Surprise.
Okay. Hi, Cotton Cuts. I'm Sarah from Denver, Colorado. Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. I've been quilting for about 3 years now. Woohoo, 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get more adventurous with my fabric choices. My question is, when you're working with a Mystery 5-0 quilt and you don't know the final design, how do you know if your fabric choices will work together? I'm always worried I'll pick fabrics that clash when the final reveal happens. Do you have any tips for choosing fabrics that will harmonize in any pattern? Okay, so I feel like there's about 75 questions in here. Yes. Okay. Okay. So what I am going to say is the easiest way to get fabrics to coordinate for a Mystery 5-0 quilt is to use a Cotton Cuts pre-cut kit because we've already done the coordinating for you. Shameless plug. Thank you. I appreciate that. We've already done all the coordinating for you, right? We've mocked it up. We put all the design together. We know how it's going to work, how it's going to fit. And so, we know that it's going to look good together and you guys will be happy with the final design. And so Paula is handing me, right? We know that these fabrics, when used in conjunction with the coordinating fabrics, are going to look great. Now, if you are choosing the shop your stash option, which I know is a super common, which is a lot of people are choosing this. This is fine, right? A lot of us have more fabric than we ever know what to do with. So this is a fantastic use of it for a project. It's a leap of faith. And so when you get your how to select your fabrics, you have to be very diligent about making sure that you're following the guidance that's given, but also understand that part of the mystery is we can't tell you all the things. And so, right, we're not going to be able to say that like this neon green is going to be used in 95% of the quilt. That's just unfortunately not something that we can tell you because it's all part of the mystery. If we're very specific.
You're taking a leap of faith when you entrust your quilt to us.
When you shop your stash. Another option is to take a look at the colorways we put together and try and copy them with fabrics from your stash. I think there's also some elements of whenever I've participated in a mystery quilt before that I was given just vague directions and yardage. I've actually put all my fabrics together and I've taken a black and white photo. And you've been part of this process before. And when I look at my fabrics, if there's not a lot of contrast in black and white, then I won't be able to tell the difference between those two fabrics in the quilt, and that might or might not be a bad thing. Also, if there's one that shows up super dark or super light, that's going to be the color you will probably see more than anything else in the quilt, so you better like it. However, with all of that said, I've definitely done, there's a lot of noise in the shop today. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. We've got a lot of exciting things going on in the shop today. So with all of that said, every now and then I've done that mystery quilt and I've had that one or two colors that just, and I think it actually makes for a fun story at the end of the day. And so I have a quilt that, do you know which one I'm talking about? It sits on our couch.
Yeah, the 2020 went to a rock concert and vomited on my quilt.
2020 went to a rock concert. 2020, the year of the pandemic, went to a rock concert and vomited all over my quilt. The fabric is like so bright and so hideous and it looked great and I had well intentions when I was planning it, but man, that quilt, it has character. And so we use it and we love it and we put Minky on the back of it and that makes up for all the ills on the front of it.
It has a special kind of style.
Yes. Yeah. So it's happening in the background. So we had some torrential rain a couple days ago, and we actually sprouted a leak in our ceiling, right? And
No
so
fabric was damaged.
no fabric was damaged, and only a little bit got on one of our rosies. And so we got it all cleaned up. Thankfully, nothing was down, but they're fixing the roof leak on the ceiling. So that's what all that noise is. And so I can't be like, hey, we're doing something at 9:30. Can we not do that? Because we kind of don't want our ceiling to leak again because it might damage a lot more stuff. Yes?
Yeah.
Super bad. Okay. All right. So let's see. So Sarah asks about selecting fabrics. And so I think, Sarah, once you get to about 3 years, I think once you've been quilting for 3 years, that's also to the point where you're past walking into a quilt shop and pointing at a quilt that's hanging and saying, I want to do that exact one. And you start trying to be a little bit more adventurous. And so
you make your own kind of music.
You make your own kind of music. And so I think it's just trial and error and just kind of playing with things and not being afraid that if you get halfway through and you don't like it, it's okay. We've all made things we don't like, and that is absolutely okay. And perhaps there could be an organization that you can donate the finished project to, or your apple might be someone's banana and they might like that, and that could be good for them. All right.
Wait, on a fruit scale, do you like bananas more than apples?
I mean, I like my banana. You might like your apple. That's me.
I like an apple more than a banana.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I like bananas more than apples. Okay. Well, we've all learned something today. Okay. Michelle Showalter saying roof repair is real life. It is definitely real life up in here. Okay. And then I would say, do you have any tips for choosing fabrics that will harmonize in any pattern? And so I feel like when that comes into play, it's a matter of knowing kind of background, contrast, and focal designs. And so we've done a couple different shows where we're talking about focal prints versus contrast versus coordinating versus a background. And so it's kind of looking at your pattern and just knowing that a background doesn't have to be white. It can be cream, it can be gray, it can be purple, it can be black, it can be blue. A background doesn't have to be white.
A background could be red.
It could be red. A background does not have to be a neutral color. But again, all those things, Sarah, it's trial and error and picking it up. If you guys have any tips or tricks on how to make sure that your color selection for a quilt, either a mystery or otherwise, is harmonious, please put those in the comments. Let's see if we can collectively help Sarah work through this.
Yay.
But Sarah, so you're not alone. Like 3 years is about the time when most people start asking themselves these questions when they've been quilting. And it's just a matter of trial and error. All right. Hello from Ohio. Woohoo. We've got people coming in from all over. Hello, E-Marie. E-Marie, I think you had a question earlier on about needing help from our member care team. So just reach out to help@cottoncuts.com and Carrie will get you all sorted.
Yeah.
All right. And then with Mystery 5.0, just like we did for the mini mystery, we'll have guidance for fabric choices. We're going to talk a lot more about that in a second, I believe. All right. So our second question today comes to us from Linda from Tucson, Arizona. I've been to Tucson many times. I actually grew up in Arizona, Linda. All right. She writes, I love the idea of your pre-cut kits because cutting is becoming harder for me due to arthritis in my hands, but I'm concerned about accuracy. How do you ensure that die cut pieces are as accurate as hand cut pieces? Are there any special techniques I should know about when working with pre-cut fabric pieces to get the best results? Okay, so I can talk about that. I can talk about that from the Cotton Cuts perspective. And so here we have high capacity dies that are meant to cut a high volume of fabric very accurately. They are made with steel and they use compression to cut the fabric consistently. We also do spot checks on measurements. We check to make sure that everything is measuring correctly, that it'll get you to the best final design. We do some manual cutting here, but we've harmonized all that trainings to make sure that no matter who's rotary cutting, everyone's rotary cutting the same. I would say that when it comes to hand cutting pieces, there's a lot of opportunities to introduce variability. I didn't think it was that big of a deal when I was first cutting out. But so Dominic, I'm going to ask a question for you. When you cut a piece and you get told to cut a 3.5-inch square, do you use the measurements on your cutting mat to measure out your 3.5-inch square if you were to cut a 3.5-inch square?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I do.
Right? So depending on what measurement method you're using, you could be introducing error in your own hand cut pieces. And so, for example, the school of thought is that you shouldn't use the dimensions that are actually printed on your rotary cutting mat because it can stretch over time, it can warp over time. And even the one that's on the table that we're looking at right now has been used so many times, some of the lines are gone. And so it's actually better to use your acrylic rulers, your fixed hard acrylic rulers. Again, there's a little bit of science here.
Those can move.
Yeah, but they're fixed and they're acrylic and the printing is typically color fast. And so it's typically better to use your rulers. However, The question of when you're cutting and you're measuring a certain dimension, do you put the line that's printed on the ruler on top of your fabric, to the side of your fabric, or do you go to the edge of your fabric to measure? And so the school of thought is that the line should be completely on top of your fabric. So all of these things matter when we're talking about accuracy of pre-cut parts and pieces. However, I'm in the realistic quilter category, and I'm in the consistency category. And so a 1/4 inch seam allowance is a real big seam allowance when you're talking about cutting pieces and worrying about whether the printed line is on the fabric, off the fabric, or to the side of the fabric. That 1/4 inch seam allowance. And so I'm a consistency person. What do you think? Do you think it's better to have accurate pre-cut pieces or to sew consistently? What's more important? What's your apple banana?
I'd say
he's thinking about this one. I stumped the child who could not
consistency.
Consistency. I am a consistency person. That will compensate for a lot of the minor cutting errors. But again, as long as you're consistently cutting with the line on the fabric, off the fabric, to the side of the fabric, you're totally good. All right, Janice saying she liked the color selection we did for the mini mystery, and so I think we're gonna do that, but we have to do it much closer to the final design. Okay, so that's it. So Linda and Sarah, thank you guys so much for your questions. If you have questions for us next week, go to cottoncuts.com/live. I actually will be solo next week. Dominic has volleyball camp next week, and so
I can't be here.
I know. So if you submit a question for the boy who sews, it's gonna have to wait 2 weeks, but I'm sure you'd be more than happy to answer any questions these lovely folks have for you. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So don't forget to give StreamYard your permission so we can talk to you and see your names. And it looks like everyone has done that, which is fantastic. And stay to the end. We will have a $25 gift card that we're going to be giving away. And so I'm hoping everyone can still hear us. It's okay. We can just talk louder. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. All right. So what is shipping? What's happening in the shop? So what have we already shipped? So last week we shipped Flyaway. What clue number for Flyaway?
Flyaway 6.
Clue 6. We are over halfway. I know that by the time we get into this and we have lots of other projects, we kind of forget about Flyaway. We kind of forget about the mystery that's already going. But you guys, that one's on clue 6. That one's almost done. Like, that is bonkers.
Is it, I think, like 6? It's like just over half.
Yeah, it still has 4 months to go. Yeah. So those should be arriving in your inboxes soon. Let's see here. Janice saying it doesn't sound as bad. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Today, Java and Chroma are shipping. And so Java is our Independence Day bundle. We've already shown that. That's the red, white, and blue. That's out the door. If you are a Batiks fan, August is my favorite of all the bundles. You're going to want to sign up for Java or Platinum. Because I love the summer heat one. It's the August. It's my birth month, and so I love that it's my birth.
Wait, is it the one that's like whisper?
It's not. It is a multicolor, like fire bright batiks. I love the August one. Yes. Oh my gosh, Paul is amazing. She went to go grab it. Okay, so here it is. And surprisingly, it is actually not rainbow this year, which is fine. That's great. So this is super bright and blue and orange batiks.
They changed it. It was perfect. If
it's okay.
Don't fix
it's
it.
Okay. It's all right. Okay, and then we're shipping Chroma today, and the Chroma this month is blue. And so whether you're getting the Super Pop or Essentials, those guys will be making their way to you very shortly. We do want to take a minute and talk about Mystery 5.0. So we have shipped over 250 kits from our shop here. I see people are talking about it. They've arrived. It's awesome. It's fantastic and amazing. And so as people have been receiving our kits, and then kits from other shops that are participating, a lot of questions have been coming up. And so we thought it'd be good to kind of address them here and then also put out some FAQs into all the groups over the next week or so. And so unlike our puzzle mystery quilt, which is just a Cotton Cuts program, right? We are the only ones that are doing that. It is awesome. We love it. And the Cotton Cuts way is the way that it is done. With Mystery 5.0, we're participating with over 200 other shops across the United States.
It's a collaboration.
It is a collaborative effort. Yes, thank you. Yes, it is a collaborative effort between a lot of quilt shops that is put on by a host organization.
Is there ever going to be a Mystery 6.0?
Maybe next year. I don't know. Mystery 5.0. It gets like I know this. He's too young. He's too young to know, guys, what Mystery 5.0 was. Either the old show or the new show. Okay. So because we're doing it with this organization, with the Mystery 5.0 group, and it's put across a lot of different shops, what we're seeing is different ways in which shops are executing on this program. And so the Cotton Cuts way, whenever we have our kits, is that everything is as pre-cut as possible. We don't want you guys to have to cut anything except for maybe a strip or two that we cut longer to allow for variations in sewing, right? Not everyone's 1/4 inch is the same. And we would hate to ship you a certain border that's too short because your seam allowances are slightly different than Dominic's, which is slightly different than mine. So really the only thing we want you to have to cut when you do our pre-cut kit is to cut maybe some strips that are cut too long. Everything else is a sit and sew, right? And so we have taken the design that the Mystery 50 team has created and we converted it into 100% cut. We also simplified it because it had, and I've mentioned this on a previous show, it had 32 different printed fabrics in it. I don't know about you guys, but when we simplified it down to 16, I feel like we could have gone further. Like, could you imagine 32 different fabrics? Woof. So many fabrics.
What if we cut the number of fabrics in half again?
So then it'd be 8.
And then we cut it in half again.
All right. So we simplified the design by reducing the number of prints that are included because it made sense for us, right? So when we're looking at the way we're putting Mystery 50 together, it was core that it was 100% cut, so you guys would just sit and sew. That's one of our Cotton Cuts promises. That's one of the things we do here, and we do well. And we also wanted to simplify the design because having 32 different fabrics felt like a lot. I know some of you guys receive these kits, and it's going to be hard to tell the difference between some of these fabrics, but at the same time, it could have been a lot more. Now, there's other shops that are talking about their pre-cut kits. And so what they did is they pre-cut it to the way that the Mystery 50 team is deploying the pattern. And so those folks are going to have to do some cutting. The way that the design goes together is that there's some you know, we all have the tricks. You make the flying geese, you make them bigger and you trim them down. Or you have the strips and you put them together and you cut off the dog ears. Or you do the 8 at a time, this or that.
Yeah.
And so in those fashions, it's closer to a traditional block of the month that would be delivered through a quilt shop. And so you are stitching and you are cutting and trimming. Does that make sense, Dominic?
Yes.
So it's pre-cut to the pattern, but it's not pre-cut to be 100% pre-cut. And then we are seeing lots of shops participating that are doing the traditional method of kits from a quilt shop, which is grab a jelly roll, grab some yardage of fabric, and you guys cut all the things. Okay. Cut all the things, right? And so as you guys, I've said this before, so there's over 1,000 pieces in the Cotton Cuts way that we've simplified it, and it's 1,000 pieces that are pre-cut. And so those are on their way. Those have been out the door to you. Now, we've gotten some questions about the shop. So I hope that clears up kind of the differences in all the kits and why ours is kind of the outlier, because we're the only one that's taken the 100% pre-cut approach. All the other shops, you're going to have to do some measure of cutting. And at the volumes we're looking at, it's going to be kind of a chunk of cutting. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut that much.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I want to just sit and sew and have a quilt in 4 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Me too. Okay. We've gotten questions about Shop Your Stash. And so our original intention was to open Shop Your Stash this week. And when we've worked with the Mystery 50 team, we're going to be delaying that. But I want to talk about kind of how the Shop Your Stashers for Cotton Cuts will be same and different. And so I fully endorse and love the Shop Your Stash option, right? How much fabric do we have at the house? Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. Thou shall not talk about. You're actually going to try and count it. How much fabric do you have at the house right now, right? So I love and support the Shop Your Stash, right? If it means more people get to participate in the program, then so be it. And I love so be. Wait, so it's SEWBEE it. I feel like that's the name of a guild. So be it. Yeah. Okay.
They sew and beekeep at the same time.
They sew and beekeeps. The sewing beekeepers. Okay. So I like and support and want as many people to participate as possible. And so we're working within the confines of the Mystery 50 program. But if you choose to Shop Your Stash, the things that'll be the same between the pre-cut kits and the Shop Your Stash is that it'll be the same experience in many ways. You'll get the clues on the same exact schedule as our pre-cut kits. The clues are going to be slightly different, just like they were for the mini mystery, because if you've gotten the kit, you're not going to have to cut anything out, nor are you going to have to cut anything during the sewing process. But the clues will be received on the same cycle. There's not going to be a Shop Your Stash is going to be delayed over anything. We're keeping all that together. You'll also get to participate in our Saturday sew-ins, which is going to be happening in our Mystery 50 Facebook group. We want to make sure that everyone gets the same experience from sewing together, because even though it is pre-cut, the pieces you're making are going to end the same. We're going to get to have the same videos. I'm going to create video content to guide you through each of the steps, and you're going to get the same support from our team. The finished quilt, guys, is going to be the same from a layout and a design perspective. Now,
all that's different is the colors.
Yeah. It's going to be there. They'll have different fabrics. But I also do want to say that, I mean, you've seen the design, and there's going to be some choose your own adventure elements in this one where I could have Ehe Rainbow, you could have Ehe Rainbow. And even though there's two different layouts, if we chose the same layout, our quilts are going to look very different depending on how we stitch our fabrics, right? So there's an infinite number of possibilities. If you had 2 kits and you did 2 different layouts, or you did 2 kits, even if you did the same layout, you can create very different quilts just from using the same fabrics. It's going to be bonkers. The pictures that we're going to see on the internet are going to be bonkers on this one. All right. So what is the main difference between the Shop Your Stash and the Mystery 50? So for the pre-cuts, the cotton cuts, everything's die cut, everything's been coordinated, everything's curated, all the binding is included, and it's a simplified pattern because we've reduced the number of prints. If you Shop Your Stash, you will need to coordinate over 32 different fabrics. You're going to have to cut over like a ridiculous number of pieces. You'll get all that information on August 1st. We'll be able to give you, per the Mystery 50 team, all the fabric requirements that you'll need on August 1st, and then you get your cutting instructions when the clues come out. So you need to make sure that you're buffering in time to allow for cutting. I know we're going to get asked this question. We get asked this question all the time. Can I get fabric requirements now? And can I get cutting instructions now? And because this is being run by an organization that's not Cotton Cuts, our hands are tied on that. We have to play within the rules that are playing with all the shops.
Otherwise, if we can't play, and if we can't play, you guys can't play.
It's true. And we don't want to be the shop that goes rogue and takes away all the nice things from all the nice people, guys. And so just because we've got this parent organization, we've got to make sure that we continue to play within the rules. Now, for Shop Your Stash, as we mentioned, it's $50 and you get a $25 gift card back. And so we've gotten some questions on that because that is also a little different from other shops as well. So the $25 it's the cost of the pattern and the cost of the administrative costs to run this program, to make sure that you guys get the same experience as those that are actually purchasing a kit. Most patterns, $25 is kind of in line with where they are. Let's see here. Michelle Showalter says she ordered a pre-cut kit. Do I still need to purchase Shop Your Stash to get info for your stash? Yes, because the pre-cut kit is going to be different. Well, was that a yes or a no? No. Okay. Sorry, just kidding, Michelle. So we had a conversation about this as well. So if you purchase a pre-cut kit from Cotton Cuts, you will also get the instructions for Shop Your Stash. So if you want to make one in parallel without purchasing the Shop Your Stash. So if you purchase a pre-cut kit, you can also get everything the Shop Your Stashers are going to get if you want to make a second, third, fourth kit, whatever floats your boat. Let's see, you're so Terry. So the clues are the pattern instructions. For Mystery 50, yes, they come out weekly, not monthly. If I said monthly, I apologize. That is my mistake. That's part of Mystery 50's difference, is it's very accelerated. Like, it's over before you know it.
Done.
Okay. Yeah, that's why having your pre-cut pieces is awesome, because it's super accelerated. And so we're going to start showing, we're going to start sewing this here in the shop. And we've gotten all of the Cotton Cuts pre-cut clues done. And so we'll see how long this takes us. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
All right. Okay. Are we done talking about Mystery 50 for now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's tons of other stuff still going on, right? So we're doing Mystery 50, but we also have Modern Maker. We showed those fabrics last week, and so those will be shipping next week. And Tim Holtz, you guys, Tim Holtz was like here and gone. Like, Tim Holtz Blue is out the door. That's another program. So we have 4 more months left. So pop quiz, Dominic. Tim Holtz has 12 months. That's mostly rainbow order. So we started with pink and red and orange and yellow and green. Then we did neutral. And then we did teal. What do you think shipped this month? What color shipped this month?
Blue or
blue?
Blue.
All right.
Yes,
there are 4 colors left. What are the 4 colors left, do you think, if you could guess? There's 4 colors for Tim Holtz left.
Blue.
Gang. We already did blue. Blue was this month. What's the IV part of the Roji?
Indigo.
Indigo and violet. And then what would you consider? Aubergine. It's called charcoal, so it's black. Oh, look, Jana's got it. She's got purple indigo, purple, black, and then the last one is something called multi, which is, yes, I know. Yeah, that look right there, people. What is multi? And
That's cheap.
no, it's not cheap.
You asked me for the color, and then multi is gonna be rainbow.
Yeah, multi comes in the last month. And so multi, we actually have the demo blocks already on the website. Those multi fabrics are a lot of fun, guys. You are not going to want to miss out on that. You're mad because multi was a color?
Cheap.
Cheap.
Multi is not a color.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's like saying an animal species is many.
Okay, we're going to keep going, gang. Okay, so up next, and so what the team is working on is Under the Sea. And so I know this is the time where people start getting itchy because we've got Under the Sea and we've got the whole quilts and they're getting ready to ship. Under the Sea. What is this? You're under the sea? Okay, so you guys, I'm excited. Under the Sea is ahead of schedule. And it's because we've got the 2 rotary cutters. We've got both Rosies. We are in a world where Rosies don't stop. And Rosies don't stop. I feel like that's a song. Like, I don't know. Okay, so both Rosies, nobody stops, and we're ahead of schedule. So those are going to start shipping next week. And so I'm putting this out here that if you are participating in Under the Sea, you would like to participate, and you want to be a prepaid, meaning you want all of your fabric at the same time, you have to place your order by Saturday in order to get a shipment before Clue 1. If you place an order after Saturday, you'll still get all your fabrics all in one box, but you'll receive it after Clue 1 ships on July 25th. So we have to cut that off. Since our team is starting to kit already and starting to get ready to start shipping them, we have to cut it off. And we can't, it'll be death by 1,000 cuts if we take orders next week and try to put them together. And so if you place an order after Saturday, it will not ship before Clue 1. So I want to make sure that's going to be clear on the website to make sure that everybody knows.
Did everyone get that over the saw?
Yes, they can hear us. It's just background noise. It's just background noise.
Right, but it's weird.
It's okay. It's okay. I would rather have that than a flooded space, right? Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I would rather.
I mean, it would all evaporate anyways. It's like summer.
No, it's humid. We live in St. Louis, dude. Nothing evaporates here.
It's a dry heat.
It is not a dry heat. We don't live in Arizona. Okay. All right. So the team is like, they're absolutely crushing it, you guys. They're cutting and making sure everything is done to the highest level of quality. It is a fantastic operation. It's a lot of fun to watch. This one's going to start shooting some video of the production floor so you guys can see how awesome it's going. All right. Are we ready to talk about our main topic?
Yes.
Okay. So Dominic chose our topic this week. And so our topic this week is science in quilting. And so Dominic, tell us, what was the inspiration for this topic? If he's staying with you this summer. So he is going to be, Dominic should be with us for every show through mid-August, I think, when he goes back to school.
Except for next show.
Except for next week. Yeah. Let's see here. Michelle's asking for the status color that's being prepared. So Michelle, we're going to come up with a tracker. We're going to use the same tracker that I think you've already found on the website. The challenge we're having is everything is moving forward together. And so we're going to start kind of pulling out colorways to move them through one at a time. But right now our team is in shape mode, not colorway mode. So they're die cutting all the 7 1/4, all the 3 7/8, all the squares. They're in shape mode, not colorway mode. Once we start getting into colorway mode, that's going to look more interesting. Otherwise, you're just going to see all the colorways kind of progressing through together. That striation will start to happen next week. Okay, Dominic.
So hold tight.
Hold tight. Hold tight. This one. I like this kid a lot.
Yeah.
You're a keeper. Will you stay with us this summer? Okay. So Dominic, tell us, what was the inspiration for this topic for the show? Look up.
I guess last show we kind of did some math with the stars, and I decided to move to science because I guess they're both technically part of STEM. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about science of quilting.
Yes, and so we're gonna hit on a couple of kind of fun topics. Some of these things you might know about, some of these things might be new, but hopefully we're gonna give you enough to be curious to go learn more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna give them enough to go learn more. Okay, so what is the first thing we're going to talk about? What's our first topic?
We're going to talk about fabric grain. You guys probably already know about this.
Stop. You said that real fast.
Fabric
grain. Okay, so Dominic, what is fabric grain?
Well, fabric grain. So how is fabric made? Can I use this?
Yes, what we're going to use is we're going to use this guy here.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So we're going to use some fabric to talk about fabric grain. So Dominic, what can you tell us about fabric grain?
Well,
Speak up.
okay, fabric is made of a whole bunch of threads, and some are going up and down, and then some are going left and right.
It's woven.
Yeah,
it's woven. Yes.
It's weaving.
Okay.
So the grain is the way the threads go. So there are two grains to fabric. There's the left and right, the threads that are going side to side, and then there's the up and down, the threads that are going up and down. If I'm not mistaken, the one that goes lengthwise is.
So the ones that. So go ahead and hold your fabric.
Wait, is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. So hold your fabric with the selvage because you're going to tell people some of these words are super fun.
Yes.
So the selvage of your fabric is here on the top. Okay.
Yes.
So the grain that runs parallel to the selvage edge, so in line with my hand,
horizontal, is called warp.
It's called warp. And I know I can never remember this, gang. The saw noise is curing me. Sorry, Gail. I am so very sorry. They are fixing our roof right now. Is there any way, Paula, we can do anything about what's going on? Okay, I will get some folks to look at it, Gail. I am so very sorry. We will see if perhaps we can download the video and drop that background noise and then re-upload it. I think we'll look into that for this time. Okay, so we're going to talk first about the grain that runs parallel to your selvage, that runs this way.
It's warp.
It's warp. W-A-R-P. And it runs parallel to the selvage. So why is that important to know that grain?
Because the warp is the strongest grain.
Why is it the strongest grain, Dominic?
It gives like no stretch.
Yes. So when we do our border strips at Cotton Cut, we always cut them this way, parallel with the warp, because it has the least amount of stretch. And so when you're putting the border on the quilt, and if you cut it this way with the binding, you're actually not going to stretch that outer border of your quilts. Cut it with the selvage, excuse me. When you cut it this way, so that's why I know when I was first starting out and I would cut borders, I would do it the economical way. And so I would cut it this way, and then I would piece them together. Your strongest actual grain is to cut your borders this way with the fabric. And that way it doesn't stretch as much, any long strips, because it's going to hold its shape and prevent distortion. Okay, warp. I didn't know this. We've taught Michelle something today.
Yes, and then.
All right, and then there's the crosswise grain, which is what, Dominic?
Weft.
Weft.
It's left with a W instead of an L.
It is W-E-F-T. And so that's traditionally how most of us cut our fabric strips. And so that's going to be in this direction with the selvage. It runs perpendicular.
Now, it's still a pretty stable grain, but it does have some more give than the warp does.
Yeah, so weft is good, but it does have just a little bit of stretch.
But it's not great.
Yes. All right. So then what is our third grain?
And then the third grain is the bias grain. And,
all right.
Oh yeah, I can't set it on the table.
Yeah, you can't set it on the table. There's no
and then
top camera.
The bias is diagonal.
Yes. So when we actually take the weave and we cut it on a diagonal, I know for most of us when we say the word bias grain or bias edge, like your hair starts curling, right? Because it's usually referred to as a bad thing. Yeah. Why is it usually a bad thing, Dominic?
Because it has the most give, and it can lead to lots of distortion in fabrics and quilts.
Yes. So with the weave, once you cut it on an angle, you actually give that fabric an opportunity to stretch unconstrained, which for most of our precision piecing is usually a bad thing and something you want to get under control.
Michelle Showalter.
Maybe
a lunch at 10.
I think Cheryl went to go and save the day. We'll see what magic she's able to work. Okay. So I mean, well, we still need to get the ceiling fixed. So that bias edge, I know we get nervous about it. However, when can the bias edge be a good thing?
It's like a secret weapon for curved edges.
For curved edges and for curved bindings, yes.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's okay if that's able to stretch, because it's almost like a Chinese finger trap. Like the stretch actually can make it stronger when it's used properly. And so I want to encourage everyone that I know when we say bias edge and when you're dealing with lots of triangles with bias edges, like it gets nervous, but there are actual very specific applications where cutting it for curved bindings. And if you want fluid dynamic shapes, it is actually okay. But it means because it has an opportunity to stretch, handling is most important, and as well as making sure that you starch your fabrics appropriately.
Yes.
If starch is your jam. Not everyone starches. I get that, and I know that. Okay, fantastic. Warp, weft, and bias. What's next,
Yes.
Dominic?
Next we have tension.
Okay, talk to me about what is tension? Is it when I'm racing to finish a project and I feel like I'm nervous and I've got a lot of tension in my shoulders?
No,
is that tension you're talking about here?
Think of tension as a handshake between your thread and
we don't need this anymore.
It's a it's a tension. Tension is a handshake between your top thread and your bobbin thread.
I know. I saw that and I was like, it's a handshake between the top thread of your machine and the bottom thread of your machine is the tension, right? And so if they are in alignment and their hands are shaking properly and everything is good, what is the outcome?
It lasts longer. Your quilts do. The tension can cause it gives the quilt less durability and it causes it to see, what is it?
If it is in agreement, then your seams typically will lay flatter. Everything will go together more harmoniously and consistently. If the tension is off, then what can happen is sometimes it can pucker on the back. It can pull through. It can cause a lot of aesthetic damages that you don't want done. Correct?
Yeah, it also won't hold up as well when you're washing the quilt.
Correct. When you're washing it, if there's an inconsistency in your tension and you wash it, it will degrade over time. And I feel like we've heard these anecdotes about mixing polyester and cotton thread. And I think what happens is it actually impacts your tension. And because the tension is out of alignment, because that handshake is not aligned, it actually degrades when it's washed because one will cut the other because it's not working in cohesion and in agreement. And so because of that mixing, it's creating a secondary and a tertiary problem that's actually causing your tension to have an issue. Okay. And what happens if you have poor tension? What is this? The beautiful quilt might
how long,
it might start falling apart and come apart sooner than you like, yeah?
Yeah, which is not great if you put all this time into a quilt. Better last long.
Okay, so one of the things that we talked about for tension is that it can cause your quilt to not lay flat. What are some other things that could cause your quilt to not lay flat?
Incompatible materials. So you said the polyester and the cotton, when you mix them, it affects your tension, but it's a cause and effect problem because incompatible materials affects tension and tension affects your quilt laying flat. So incompatible materials can affect your quilt laying flat.
So talk to me about what you mean when you say incompatible materials, right? If I'm sewing two things together, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. What's this compatibility of materials you speak of?
Some are just fundamentally different. They stretch differently.
Okay, so materials can stretch differently depending on how they're made. Plus, if you have different thicknesses of materials, if you're mixing different thicknesses and different weights of materials,
different textures.
Yes, different textures. So you can also, have you ever sewn with vinyl before?
No.
Yeah, trying to put cotton on vinyl is an experience that I don't think should be shared very lightly. But as soon as you start mixing different materials, and once you start mixing cottons with other substrates, that's where sometimes you can experience the quilts that aren't laying flat or your seams that aren't being pressed flat. And you could literally pull out your hair over this and think that it's the needle, it's the thread, it's your bobbin, it's your presser foot, it's all these other things, but it's actually potentially an incompatibility with your materials that you're trying to piece together, right? I think we've talked about this before.
Friction between them too.
The friction between them as well. So the highest friction between two materials are actually two materials of the same. So if you're putting two cotton materials together, that friction is going to want to hold them in place more than if you put a polyester next to a cotton. That actually has a lower coefficient of friction and it's going to want to move as opposed to two cottons that you put together.
Which stay together.
What's that now? Which will want to stay together. The force of friction will want to keep them together.
Inertia too.
Yes. Yeah. And it's also inconsistent construction. So when you start talking about having variable stitch lengths throughout a project, as well as variable seam allowances. I cannot believe I could not think of seam allowance. As soon as you start having variable seam allowances and variable stitch lengths throughout a project, and then you try and piece it all together, you are setting yourself up for some frustration if you don't want your quilt to be wavy. If your goal is to set up a wonky, abstract, creative art project, then a wavy project, then that is absolutely okay. But if your expectation is to be able to mix all these different types of materials together and have a quilt that's going to lay flat and be absolutely beautiful, then definitely we need to look at possibly different construction techniques in order to make sure that they lay as flat as possible. Now, Dominic found some interesting information about some construction techniques for how. Oh, sorry, my fault. I was jumping ahead. Michelle Showalter is asking, what might happen if different thread type is used, right? So it's one of those, it depends on your machine and it depends on the thread types that you're using. But sometimes if you use a polyester and a cotton thread together, they might degrade faster. The cotton will degrade faster because the polyester might cut into it. But as we've mentioned, it could also be a tension issue. Some of the cotton threads tend to shed in certain machines more than others, which is why people will only use polyester in certain machines. But I feel like it's project dependent, and depending on how many layers you're sewing through, what the intended project is, and how often you choose to wash it. It's one of those you have to try and see. To me, I always use cotton thread. I used to use polyester, but that's all kind of come out. So everything I use is 100% cotton. And whenever I have like a specialty thread, I know I have some threads that have some metallic that's kind of woven in or some variegation to them. That's usually where I start experiencing some frustrations with my machine. And so those projects don't usually live very long, and they actually get replaced with other types of thread. All right. Let's see here. And then, of course, when it comes to the different types of materials, when you're in your basting, when you have those different types of materials, you're going to have to quilt them differently because they're going to stretch at different rates. And so if you start mixing different materials into a quilt top, the quilting is going to have to change. I know when we have batting, it says quilt every 5 inches, every 8 inches, every 3 inches, however much it tells you to quilt. Once you start introducing different substrates, then you're going to have some challenges. And so that's where the quilting is really, it's dependent on a factor of the batting, but it's also going to be a factor of the materials that you used. Michelle, you shouldn't have any problem in, Janet, I'm going to come back to that question. Michelle, you shouldn't have any problem switching threads in a mystery quilt unless it is a significantly different weight of thread, in which case it will impact your seam allowance. So I've sewn with 80 weight and 100 weight thread. Most common is to use 40 or 50, but if you're doing 40 or 50 for 1 month and then you switch to 80 or 100, you're going to see a difference. It's going to have an impact on your quilt, and you should adjust your stitch length if you're using those different weights of thread.
I learned something new the other day.
What's that?
I didn't know that there was like 1,300 meters on a thread spool.
Yeah, one of our big thread spools has 1,300 meters.
I didn't know that
he read that and he said that, and I was like, yeah, like to me, like 1,300 meters doesn't sound like a lot, but for you, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I just didn't know they had that much.
Okay, I know, it's amazing what they can wind on a little spool. Okay, so Jana is asking, is the texture difference in materials why some people don't want to mix batiks with print and cotton? And I think ultimately, Jana, that is part of one of the reasons, because batiks have a tighter weave, they don't fray as much, and they tend to be stiffer pre-washing, and it could wreak some havoc on some of the tensions on the machine and some of your thread problems. And so I think that's part of the reason, but I think when we're looking at, you know, kind of the variability in different substrates that can be used for quilting, you know, cotton and batik are like super close together versus like cotton and rayon, cotton and linen. And then once we get to like cotton and silk, like once we start mixing some of those different substrates together, like the distance they become much further distance apart cousins. And so that might be why there's some of the problems that people see. But I feel like in the spectrum, like cotton and batiks are here, and so they might not give you as much headaches as perhaps like a nylon and a cotton would. Okay, so Dominic, we're going to talk about why quilts turn yellow. So this is chemistry.
Yay.
So a lot of people put all this time and this effort into making a quilt, and they wash it and they work with it, and then before you know it, it starts turning yellow. Dominic, can you explain some of the reasons why quilts will turn yellow?
It's actually oxidation. It's a lot like copper in that sense. As the fabric interacts with the air, it begins to turn yellow and age. Now, there are a few things that can cause this or speed up this process, such as different kinds of, residues that could be left on the fabric.
Okay. So like what type of residue would be left on fabric on a quilt? Tell me more.
Like I guess hand lotion, sweat, and hold on. No, I'm thinking.
And cleaning products.
Cleaning, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So as you clean it, it actually ages the quilt more. And protein-based residues such as sweat could also impact it more because the proteins break down the fabric.
Yes. So all these things that we're doing to our quilts can cause them to age. Also, and to yellow. One of the things also that I've seen is quilts that are put on the back of a couch that goes to a window, sometimes the sun can also
The
bleach it.
The sun can bleach it.
The sun can bleach it, which can also make it yellow. And so some of these things, right?
I think yellow only happens with white fabrics on quilts, though, or other lighter fabrics.
Yes, Peggy Fox is enjoying your presentation. Thank you,
Peggy. I think darker fabrics. Now I don't know if this is true. I think darker fabrics could be less susceptible to the yellowing.
Yes, fair. Because, but at the same time, there are some cleaning agents that will cause them to fade or stain, like a bleach, for example, on a darker print. A bleach-based cleaner would cause it to fade or leave spots. And so this is part of the reasons why there's some guidance that usually when you're getting ready to like sit and sew, to wash your hands, right? Because some of the oils on your hands, some of the lotions, if you've been washing dishes and there's some kind of leftover behind, that some of that can transfer when you're stitching. And what actually happens is that where you're touching most likely is actually on the inside of the quilt. And so on the inside of the quilt, that's going to get trapped inside and that can lead it to yellow. Michelle is also saying that like any tape can leave residual behind, stickers can leave residual stickiness behind. All those things that you're leaving behind on your quilts can actually cause it to yellow. And so I think it's interesting that you're talking sweat and cleaning agents, right? So usually when people have blankets, right, they're meant to keep them warm. And so they're going to sweat and they're going to shed skin cells. And then you want to clean it and wash it. But if you don't wash it, the proteins from this will break it down. But then if you wash it, it's going to yellow it. So what would you suggest? Yeah, sometimes cleaning agents can yellow it. So what would you suggest?
Just water.
So you can clean it without a detergent. That's definitely an option. But I've also seen on the market some cleaning agents that are specifically for quilts that are meant to, help preserve the colors without fading the colors, and also make sure that they don't yellow over time. So if this is something that's super important to you and you have a quilt and you want to make sure that it does not yellow, there are products that could actually, that are used for this intended purpose. Because think antique quilts every now and then have to be washed. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't and don't want to have to hand wash the quilts that are on the beds, right? And so there are definitely products that have been created to help with this. Jana's asking about cookie crumbs. I feel like that would leave a protein-based oil on a quilt that could potentially lead it to yellow. Yes.
Also salt content. I mean, cookies aren't really salty, but like sea salt on them.
The salt would accelerate a yellowing process.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Danelle says, when washing a quilt for the first time that has red and blue in the quilt with white background, that the fabrics were not pre-washed, what are some steps to take to prevent color bleeding? I have a tree skirt that is exactly that situation on a Christmas tree, and the colors did bleed because they were not pre-washed. And so that's definitely you got to go in the color catcher category. Keep it on cold. Anything warm or hot is going to make those colors bleed. But the color catcher and retain should be able to help get that, kind of keep those colors and well behaved. We've talked about this pretty recently, that if this project was made with fabrics that were produced in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, those fabrics typically tend to bleed more than colored fabrics today. The fabrics that you're going to buy in a quilt shop today are more color fast. The processes are more digital, and they are meant to retain their color more often, which is why the modern trend is to not pre-wash, because you don't want some things that are pre-shrunk before you stitch them. But the color is less of a concern than it definitely was on my tree skirt that was made 25 years ago. Yes, and Erin says that first wash is always terrifying. Always do it on cold. Always do it on gentle cycle. And if you're super concerned, you can always take it out to a dry cleaner. Dry cleaners typically can send it to a laundromat that has a higher capacity that'll be able to cover it as well. All right. What's next, Dominic? What else are you going to share with us?
I mean, that's kind of it for the chemistry of aging.
What about the synthetic fibers?
Yeah, but that's not like the chemistry of aging.
The chemistry of aging, right? All of us are trying to roll back the time. Yes, Catherine says she uses a lot of color catchers on that first wash, because I know Catherine does. I think Catherine does a lot of batiks, and so batiks are historically, since they are handmade and since they are hand dyed, they do typically tend to bleed more than a traditional quilting cotton as well. What's wrong?
Michelle Showalter put tape and stickers in the chat.
Yes, because if you put tape or stickers on fabric and you peel them off, that adhesive residue gets left behind, so that will cause some aging. Yeah, it's exactly like when you uncover a label on an old piece of paper and it kind of crackles off and it leaves some of the adhesive behind. Yep. That's what it's leaving on your quilt in an exemplified fashion.
Mhm.
All right. They're impressed with your research you did.
Yeah, I know.
And you haven't even talked about synthetic fibers yet. You ready?
Sure.
I mean, you've got some big words here on this paper. I'm impressed with this one. Shall we talk about synthetic fibers?
Yes.
Okay. So how are synthetic fibers made, and how is it different
Through a
than
process known as condensation polymerization.
condensation polymerization? So tell us.
Oh, it's polymer.
Yeah, sorry. I've taken advanced science classes. It's polymerization. All right. So tell me what condensation polymerization is.
Okay, so that's where smaller molecules called monomers link together, and it often eliminates water in the process, or water molecules. And when they do this process, they link together to form long polymer chains.
They form long polymer chains,
like
yes?
the threads that become cotton fabrics.
Mhm.
And then you weave those threads, and then there's warp and weft. And
Yes. And so in cotton,
full circle.
right? And so it's a very different process than cotton, which is typically woven. It's cast cotton wise, and then it is woven into the. We talked how we started, right? We talked
Warp and
about
weft.
grain, right? And so if you've got a grain like this with cotton, which is manufactured to be stretchy and have give, versus a process like this with a smaller molecules that are linked together to eliminate water and form a polymer chain.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that polymer chain cares how I cut it? Do you think it cares about warped or weft?
No.
Or bias?
No.
No, because is that polymer chain that has no water in it going to do anything organic?
No.
As opposed to cotton, which is living and has stretch to it. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Even rayon, which sounds like it starts with a natural cellulose, it undergoes a chemical treatment process that dissolves it into chemicals before spinning it into fibers. And so it starts natural, it then gets dissolved, and then it becomes synthetic in the after effects, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why when we talked about tension and when we talked about different materials and laying things flat, it's because some are chains versus some are woven. Once you start mixing all this stuff together, it is where you're going to get some problems. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. Is that everything you researched for us today?
Yes.
Yes.
There you have it. The science behind quilting.
Yes. Yeah. So Dominic loved this topic so much. And I hope you guys learned enough to be dangerous to go and want to learn more, right?
Yeah.
Dominic, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
No problem.
All right. So we're going to end every show like we always do with a question. And we're going to ask this question of you guys. We're going to ask this question of you guys again. Find this video on YouTube, on Instagram, or on Facebook, and you're going to answer this question to be entered to win a $25 gift certificate to the shop, which can be used on literally anything in the shop. So, what's the question, Dominic?
What's one geeky science fact you can share with us?
Yes, so we're asking you guys for a geeky science fact. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be quilting or sewing, but what's one geeky science fact you can share with us? And so I don't know if it's a geeky science fact, but perhaps a misconception. So people oftentimes think that grenadine that's used in Shirley Temples is cherry. Dominic, what is it actually?
It's like, isn't it like rhubarb?
It's pomegranate.
Oh, pomegranate.
Pomegranate, right? It's one of those geeky science things that people think because it's red, it has to be cherry. But grenadine is actually pomegranate. All right. So find this video wherever you're watching us and answer one geeky science fact you can share with us. Dominic, I should have asked you. Do you have one you can share?
We went to the moon before we put wheels on suitcases.
Oh, that's a fun geeky science fact. We went to the moon before we put wheels on suitcases.
It's more of a history than a science.
It is a history.
It involves going to the moon, so we're gonna.
But it is also invention in both cases, yeah? All right, so let's see here. So go ahead and put that in the comment. Paulo, pick one lucky person to get a $25 gift card. Thank you, guys.
Aaron new.
Yes, here we go. Fantastic. All right. Thank you guys so much. Everyone have a fantastic week. We will see you guys next week. We will have more fun, exciting topics. It'll be me by myself. Maybe I'll let Dominic pick the topic and I get to talk about it. Someone has to go do volleyball camp. You'll be fine. All right.
No, I have
Anything
to do
else?
stuff.
All right. Everyone have a fantastic week. We will see you guys next week. See you soon. Bye now. And cut. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have so much fun making these, and we hope that you were both delighted and inspired by what you just watched. This video was sponsored by Cotton Cuts. Cotton Cuts is your one stop for all the best fabric and thread memberships. Love fabric? We've got you covered. Love thread? We've got you covered. We get that no two quilters are cut from the same cloth, which is why our memberships are as unique as you. We also have the largest block of the month in the world. Over 4,000 detectives solve our puzzle mystery quilts every year, and you can join them. Simply go to cottoncuts.com to learn more about all the awesome and fun things that we're doing. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to make sure you get all of our new fresh content every time it comes out. Thank you so much, happy sewing enthusiasts, and we will see you soon. Bye now.